Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Inside Islamic Finance. In today's episode, we're going to look at an ISRA research paper, number 112, Islamic Finance Law and Regulations in Malaysia, a macro-maqasidic approach. And to discuss it with us, we have Professor Yunus As-Salihi. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Prof.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this session. Thank you very much.
So we hear this term maqasid al-sharia very frequently among academics and Islamic finance practitioners. So can you briefly tell us what does it mean and what is its relevance to Islamic finance?
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah, Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Maqasid al-Sharia in general are the main objectives which the Sharia has come to observe in the Islamic rulings, meaning to say that each Islamic ruling has an objective, which we call it specific objective, and yet we have higher objectives which the Sharia has come to observe. For example, Sharia has come to protect life. Sharia has come to protect religion itself. Sharia has come to protect wealth as well as progeny. So these are objectives. Some of them are very necessary to protect, meaning to say without which a community's life may go into chaos, complete disorder. And these are we call necessary objectives. And there are some objectives which people need actually. So they are called exigencies or hajiyat. So these are things that people still need, but not as much as they need the necessities. For example, they may need some sort of traits. They may need some type of mode of payment. Their life may go into some kind of inconvenience if they do not adopt those kind of payments or trades or transactions. So Sharia comes to take that into consideration and ease certain of the rulings so that people's life may be more convenient. And we have some kind of objectives which Sharia also takes into account, are those that would make people's life easier, better, more convenient and relaxing. And these are we call tahsiniyat. And they are more related to issues related to ethics, the way we should conduct ourselves, the way is very much close to perfectness. I mean, Sharia also tends to make our dealings or transactions perfect. So it's a complete set of beneficial things. That's why they are all revolve around one concept, the concept of benefit, or what we call in Arabic maslaha. So Sharia has come to protect our maslaha, and this maslaha, if it is necessary, such as protection of life, we call it necessities. If it is a benefit which is needed, we call it hajiyat. And if it is something related to ethics and perfectness, we call it tahsiniyat. How is it relevant to our life and Islamic finance in particular? Islamic finance is part of our dealings. The mode of transactions, for example, investment, services, and transactions have to achieve an interest, a benefit to society. For example, the way we trade, this trade has to observe these main objectives or the objectives of Sharia. One of the objectives, for example, is fairness and justice. The way we sell and buy or invest must be done in a fair and a just manner. Therefore, all scholars, classical and modern, have insisted and emphasized on justice and fairness as one of the objectives that traders have to take into account.
Can I just interrupt you for a minute? There's a sort of a more hardline textual based approach to Sharia, and advocates of that approach would say, hey, wait a minute, this sounds awfully philosophical. Knowledge is qala Allah wa qala Rasul. Allah said and the Messenger said. That's knowledge. Everything else is just somebody's opinion. So they would say, where do you get all this stuff from? How would you respond to that?
Well, they come from Sharia itself. It is a Sharia that urges us to look into the objectives. I mean, if you review some verses, some of the verses clearly states the objective of Hajj, objective of Zakah and Salah. And each verse, for example, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, that prayer would actually prevent you from approaching mischiefs and evils. This part is already mentioned in the verse. So it is a Quran that actually urges us to look into the objective. The issue of zakah, the same thing. خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا. So take part of the wealth, which is zakah, to purify the souls. So the issue of purification is already stated. And so on. So if you look into all the, some of these objectives are already stated in the Quran and the Sunnah. And some are deduced, actually. They are understood from the a multitude of evidences in the Quran and Sunnah, that if you read each and every evidence, we will actually come up with this kind of objective. For example, the issue of fairness and justice. So if you review certain transactions such as mudaraba and musharaka, so we will understand that Sharia tends to achieve fairness between the contracting parties. If you take the objective of protection of wealth, how do we know that Sharia has come to protect wealth? Hifdul mal. We have to look into all the transactions which are prohibited by Sharia, rulings pertaining to the prohibition of monopoly of wealth, issues pertaining to the prohibition of fraud. So if we collect all this, we will come to conclusion that Sharia tends to protect wealth. We may not get it from a specific evidence, but we will understand it from the multitude of these evidences. And this is what is called in usul al-fiqh, al-manhaj al-istiqra'i, the inductive method, that when we trace all these evidences, we will come up with a universal meaning, which is called maqsad, which is an objective. So it is true that some of these are not literally stated in the Quran Sunnah, but they are understood from the meanings which are spread in all the evidences of Sharia.
Right. So that's the end of this episode. We ask our viewers to stay tuned for other episodes that we will upload soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.